one of the best things about the theme park and roller coaster community, and being an enthusiast, is that there is so much discussion regarding speculation, what our favourite rides are, what our favourite parks are, where we think certain rides can be improved, whether or not that was the perfect new addition to a park. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about some controversial, or what might be deemed some slightly unpopular opinions regarding theme parks and roller coasters. I think a lot of the time within the community we praise parks for how good an addition is, or we say how bad an addition to a park is, and if we're talking about a new coaster, for example. I think a lot of the time, obviously there are some exceptions, but I think a lot of the time most people are in agreement. Oh, you know, this coaster is the right choice for the park, this coaster wasn't the right choice for the park, things like that. But I'm actually going to be talking today about some things which I personally do believe in, and I think actually are a bit controversial compared to some of the different rumours and reports and thoughts I've seen online. If you do agree with any of my thoughts, please do leave your comments down below. If you disagree, that's the whole point, it's a controversial, and please leave your controversial theme park and roller coaster takes in the comments section below. I probably have a lot more controversial takes than what I'm going to speak about in this video, so if you do like this style of video, please do let me know and I'll make another one. That's the whole point of the comment section. If you do enjoy today's video, please do give it a like, it massively helps out the channel. Subscribe for more, and welcome to Coasternaut. Let's get into today's video. Starting off then, this one is probably one of my most controversial takes. I'm going to be talking about RMC roller coasters, Rocky Mountain Construction, and actually in this video specifically talking about their iBox coasters, their hybrid coasters, their wooden coasters, any of their coasters that use the iBox tracks. I think these coasters are personally very overrated. Don't get me wrong, I know that's a very big statement to make. I know these coasters are often people's number 1, number 2, number 3, top 5, top 10, top 20. Everyone seems to absolutely love and rave about RMCs, and everyone seems to want an RMC to come to every single theme park these days, be it one of their old wooden coasters being converted into a new RMC hybrid, or a ground up hybrid like Energylandia got, or we've seen recently over in America with the Fun Spot Atlanta Park. I just think, you know, they're great, don't get me wrong, the ones I've ridden are fantastic rides, but they aren't, you know, to me anyway, these absolute perfect coasters that are just, you know, need to be absolutely everywhere. Every single park should build one, every single old wooden coaster should be converted into an old RMC. No, in my opinion, these coasters are fantastic, don't get me wrong. I think the airtime is really good. I think, you know, they have the ability to do some transitions that no other manufacturer seems to be able to do, and they're very unique, and I like that. However, you know, just because an old wooden coaster is getting a bit rough, you know, there's no need to convert it. Maybe just retract parts of it. You know, there's a great thing about having an old classic wooden coaster. You can't get that feel, you know, like the Coney Island Cyclone. That's one of my favourite rides in the world. It's just such a classic feeling coaster. Don't get me wrong, if it is a really boring ride, or if it is a bit rough, convert it into an RMC, but you know, there are other options out there now. We have the GCI Titan track, and you know, just an overall retract that we've seen like the Gravity Group do with something like Tenaire to Zeus. There are different options out there for wooden coasters now, and I think, you know, these coasters are amazing, but in my opinion, RMCs are not the be-all and end-all. They're not the best coasters in the world. Admittedly, I've not ridden ones like Steel Vengeance, which are supposed to be, you know, best coasters in the world, but of the ones I've ridden, fantastic rides, but not the most perfect rides that need to be at every single park. Sticking on the topic of RMC, we're going to be coming over to a park here in the UK, Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Now, this is a park full of classic wooden coasters, and I think a lot of the Pleasure Beach fans don't actually want their old wooden coasters converted into RMC coasters, because they say, you know, they've got a very classic feel, it's part of the heritage of the park, and, you know, it's what makes Pleasure Beach stand out compared to parks like Alton Towers and Thorpe Park here in the UK. You know, Pleasure Beach is a lot more of a vintage park. You know, it's all about celebrating their old classic rides. They have a lot of old rides there, not just coasters, but in my opinion, at least one of their old classic woodies should be turned into an RMC. They have obviously the Big Dipper, Nickelodeon Streak, Grand National. They have so many classic wooden coasters there, and in my opinion, it would be unique to turn one of these into an RMC. I understand keeping the classic feel. I'm not saying remove all of them. I'm just saying maybe, you know, turn one of them into an RMC. It would be a first RMC in the UK. People are always talking about an RMC coming to the UK. It would be fantastic. It would be able to be a great point of marketing for the park. You know, we have something that Alton Towers and Thorpe Park don't. Come up here to Blackpool, ride probably the best coaster in the country. Maybe that, or Hyperia, obviously coming to Thorpe Park. And I truly think maybe the Grand National is the perfect RMC candidate. I think the Big Dipper is a great classic family woody, but yeah, it's a bit more family focused. Nickelodeon Streak is actually probably my favourite of the classic woodies in the park, in my opinion. It's the least rough compared to the Big Dipper and the Grand National to me. And to me, this would be a great RMC candidate, the Grand National. I think obviously you have the dueling tracks, maybe they'd make it into a dueling Mobius coaster, something like Twisted Colossus. Maybe they'd get rid of the dueling aspects and just focus on one track and extend the layout a bit. Or maybe they would just do dueling RMCs, not a Mobius coaster. There's two sides of it, both slightly different layouts, and two different credits there. Have a dueling RMC coaster layout. I think this is the perfect candidate for an RMC in my opinion. I know Blackpool Pleasure Beach fans are going to hate me for saying that and don't really want it to be removed for the most part, but in my opinion I think it would be a perfect candidate for an RMC and one of the best coasters in the country if they were to do it. Sticking again here in the UK, but moving to a different park, Alton Towers. I don't think Rita is as bad as people say. Now, don't get me wrong, it's definitely not one of the best Intamin accelerator coasters out there. Definitely doesn't have one of the best hydraulic launches out there, and I think a lot of the reason why it gets a lot of hate is for two reasons. I think one, it's definitely one of the weaker major coasters at Alton Towers when you compare it to Wicker Man, Nemesis, and the Smiler, things like that. And two, just a few hours away at Thorpe Park you have Stealth, which has a much better launch, and I think most people do prefer Stealth over Rita because of how much better the launch is on Stealth. It's a much more punchy launch, high top speed, better acceleration. I think people love the airtime you get over the top hat on Stealth. I can understand all those points. I do think Stealth is a better coaster. I do think it is overshadowed by some of the other rides at Alton. I'm not disagreeing with that. However, I don't think it's as bad as it is. People are saying constantly Rita needs to be removed, it's one of the worst coasters out there, it's dreadful. That accelerator hydraulic launch is still fantastic. A hydraulic launch is a hydraulic launch, I think that most people do prefer the hydraulic launches to the LSM launches that most coasters use nowadays. Obviously, I know LSMs should be used for the reliability and they're a lot easier to maintain than the hydraulic launches ever were. But I think that is such a punchy, powerful launch still on Rita. And I think, yes, the layout is a bit meandering and stuff, but it is really fun. I think, you have that instant launch, then you do have some nice twists and turns. Don't get me wrong, it's not the best coaster in the world, but it's not as bad as people make out. I don't think it needs as much hate as it gets, and I think Rita is an underrated coaster. And my final point for today's video is going to be talking about elements on coasters. I think people rave about how good airtime is and how we need so many more airtime focused rides. I think in the UK we do definitely need more airtime focused rides. We don't really have any specifically airtime focused rides in the UK. But I don't think inversions are as bad as people seem to make out. Not as bad as people seem to make out, but people seem to always just want rides to be full of airtime and aren't that bothered about rides having inversions in. For me, some of the best coasters out there are, the big B&M loopers, some of the modern Vekoma coasters. I mean, Lek Coaster for me, yes, the airtime on that ride is insane. It's one of the most intense coasters out there. But those inversions are absolutely incredible. You get whipped through them. I think Nemesis, all the inversions in there, that first corkscrew is fantastic. I love the feeling you get of sort of weightlessness on the vertical loop. Galactica, the upside down section where you're on your back. I love these inversions. The Smiler, the 14 inverting coaster, is one of my favourite coasters here in the UK. Yes, I do think airtime is fantastic. It's one of the best feelings on a coaster, but inversions are just as cool in my opinion. If a park has loads of airtime focused rides, a load of woodies, maybe give them a load of inversions. Inversions are fantastic. Maybe I've been interpreting this wrong that I've been seeing online, but I think people just aren't as bothered about inversions as they are as airtime for the most part anyway. And for my opinion, I think inversions are just as cool. It's an element, that as humans, when you're whipped through that, all the forces that are exerted on your body, it's not something we feel often, and to me, going through inversions is just as cool as getting some really strong ejector airtime. So those are some of my 4 most controversial opinions about theme parks and roller coasters. I probably do have a lot more that I could sit down and think about and make more videos on. If you did enjoy this style of video, please do let me know down in the comments below if this is something you want to see more of in the future. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave the video a like if you enjoyed. Let me know your controversial opinions down below, and if you did or didn't agree with mine, and I'll see you very much in the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Coasternaut.